The title of this video may be surprising to a few people because of who Stephen Curry is. Some people actually think he was the #1 pick in his draft class, but as you can see from the title of the video that I'm going to do today, he was not. As a matter of fact, he was drafted with the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA draft. This was not the first and will definitely not be the last time that a legendary player wasn't drafted first in the NBA draft. Things like this happen from time to time, and in the video today, I'm going to look at the reasons why Steph Curry wasn't selected as the #1 overall pick in his draft class. First and foremost, let's take a look at the players that were drafted before Stephen Curry in the draft. The first pick in the 2009 NBA draft went to the LA Clippers, and with that pick, they selected Mr. Lob City himself, Blake Griffin, from the University of Oklahoma. The second pick was made by the Memphis Grizzlies, and they selected the shot-blocking Tanzanian Hasheem Thabeet. The Oklahoma City Thunder drafted James Harden with the 3rd pick. Here's a fun fact. Did you know James Harden was the first pick that the Oklahoma City Thunder had in the draft after moving from Seattle? Yep. James Harden was the first player to be drafted by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They realized his potential, paid him properly, paired him with other great players on the roster, and eventually went on to win a championship. They did not do that. They wished they did, but unfortunately for them, they were too young and there was a more experienced Big Three in South Beach at the time. They came close though, and they were real good. Moving on, the Sacramento Kings drafted Tyreke Evans at the 4th spot, and the Timberwolves used the 5th pick on a point guard from Spain, Ricky Rubio. And then the same Timberwolves used the 6th pick on another point guard. Oh my God. Guys, I'm not a front office professional at all, but just saying this, I know it's wrong. The Timberwolves drafted Ricky Rubio, a point guard, with their 5th pick, and then drafted another point guard with their 6th pick. That number 6 pick was Jonny Flynn, by the way. Yeah, I know, I barely remember him too. So let's address the question that everyone is asking. How were these guys given a hat before Steph? The Los Angeles Clippers drafted Blake Griffin at the #1 spot, and this is a pick we can't exactly fault them for. Blake Griffin was a stellar college player, and he was exactly what the Clippers needed when they drafted him. The Clippers roster had around 4 players listed at the power forward position, but by the start of the 2009 to 2010 season, only one of the power forwards from the previous season was still on the roster. The others were either removed via trades or waivers, so based on the plans the Clippers front office had, the power forward spot needed to be filled for the upcoming season, and Blake Griffin was the perfect player in the draft to do it. The Memphis Grizzlies drafted Hasheem Thabeet at #2, and at the time, in that moment, it was a solid pick. Hasheem Thabeet was just coming off an incredible NCAA run with UConn. And believe me when I say he was the Rudy Gobert of college basketball. Unfortunately, Hasheem Thabeet wasn't able to comfortably make the switch from the NCAA to the NBA. He was a BUST. Baller, underperforming severely and tragically. So why did the Grizzlies think Thabeet was worthy of that #2 pick? Well, in addition to his great performances in college, the Grizzlies were really in need of a center at the time. They ended their 2008-2009 NBA campaign with one quality center on their roster. That was Marc Gasol. He was not yet the all-star NBA champion Marc Gasol. He was just the boy band hairstyle wearing rookie Marc Gasol. The other centers on the Grizzlies roster were Adonal Foyle, Hamed Hadidi, and Darko Milicic. Can any of you tell me which one of these 3 guys was the first to make an all-star team? I'll let you guys figure out the answer to that one. I guess you can look it up when you are Googling their names because I know none of you will know any of these guys. The Oklahoma City Thunder is possibly the only team on this list that drafted a player above Stephen Curry that we really can't complain about. As you know by now, they drafted James Harden, and some of you would do the same thing too. Yes, you know what you would have now. Since we can't complain about the James Harden draft too much, let's complain about what they did after they drafted James Harden. OKC only offered him around $53 million for 4 years after he helped the team get to the 2012 NBA Finals. He was eventually traded for pennies on the dollar after rejecting the extension deal. Can you imagine James Harden, Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, and Russell Westbrook growing and developing together on the same team? Yeah, some of you may not be big fans of Westbrook, but the fact of the matter is, he can be a West beast when he wants to. Tyreke Evans was drafted after James Harden as the 4th pick in the 2009 draft by the Sacramento Kings. So why did the Sacramento Kings draft Tyreke and not Steph Curry? You see, at the time, the Kings only had one solid shooting guard on their roster, and that was Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin was pretty good, but he could not carry the team by himself at that position. It was a logical move for Sacramento at the time to draft a capable shooting guard, and that's what they did. Tyreke Evans went on to become Rookie of the Year in the 2009-10 NBA season. He managed to put up 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists as a rookie while playing 37 minutes per game. That's impressive for a rookie, and I'm sure you all can agree. Now, these next 2 picks, as I mentioned earlier, I don't quite understand. The Minnesota Timberwolves are on the clock. With the 5th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves selected Ricky Rubio. The Timberwolves needed a point guard. Well, they thought they needed 2 or 3. Their GM drafted 3 point guards in that draft. So what do? They overlooked a point guard that was averaging 28 points per game. They overlooked a point guard that spent 3 years polishing his game in the NCAA. They overlooked a point guard capable of distributing the ball. They overlooked a point guard that had proven that he could shoot the ball from range while playing in the NCAA to go and draft Ricky Rubio. He wasn't bigger than Steph Curry, and the only thing he had over Steph was the experience of playing professionally. So I can't fathom why he was selected with the 5th overall pick, and as you know, it gets even more confusing. The Timberwolves drafted Jonny Flynn right after Ricky Rubio. And if you're trying to remember who he is, stop. Don't waste your time trying to do it. It's fine. The only reason I can think why this pick would have happened is that the GM at the time was saying, okay, so I just got a point guard from Spain. That may or may not work out. So what am I going to do to make sure I didn't waste this pick? I'll use the 6th pick to get a backup point guard, just in case. I bet in his mind this was the perfect plan. It would have been if he had used the pick to get Steph Curry, but he didn't. Thank God though, right, Dubs fans? So was it worth it for these teams to select all of these players instead of Steph Curry? The Clippers had a very good run in the playoffs with Blake Griffin after they got Chris Paul and LA turned into Lob City. For a short while, the Clippers were the best team in Los Angeles, but they were no Golden State. Blake Griffin did turn out to be a very good player, some would even say a future Hall of Famer. Throughout his career, he is averaging 21 points and 8 rebounds per game. Hasheem Thabeet didn't live up to any of the expectations that were placed on him when he entered the NBA. He bounced around a few times and eventually bounced right out of the NBA. He's currently playing in the Taiwanese P-League for a team called the Hsinchu Lioneers. James Harden is, well, he's the beard. We need to say no more. Tyreke Evans has since carved out a fairly solid career for himself before he was banned from the NBA. Yes, I know this is a big bombshell to drop right before the end of the video, but yeah, Tyreke Evans was banned for substance abuse in 2009 and will be eligible to apply for reinstatement in May of this year. The 2 point guards that the Minnesota Timberwolves selected didn't really do anything special. Jonny Flynn is no longer in the NBA, and Ricky Rubio was traded from the Timberwolves. He was then traded back to the Timberwolves, and who knows? He may be traded away again. Your guess is probably as good as mine. So there you have it, guys. All the players who were drafted in the 2009 draft before Steph Curry. What do you think? If you had the opportunity to be the GM of any of those teams at the time, would you have drafted Steph?